Good evening. It's the caller live from the Man Cave. Feels like a little while. I think I've had a couple of weeks off, busy doing grown-up stuff. Nothing really exciting, but I am pleased to be back in the Man Cave tonight to talk to you all about Spurs and host this show. I've got three distinguished guests from around the world of Spurs, literally, and I will introduce them to just Ange's original follower on Twitter, the number one follower on Twitter. JP, since 2012. I think you should have a T-shirt printed, Ange since 2012, or something like that. Welcome.
Thank you. I was thinking about getting Ange. I said it February 23, but I don't want to keep gloating about my past victories. So,
No.
Yes, you go. I do. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, absolutely,
absolutely. Till it all goes Pete Tong, and then you'll be like, "Nah, never heard of him, mate."
Yeah, I was saying to it earlier. Like the only time it's ever gone peak, like gone a little bit off, was like 2015, and I've just learned to trust ever since. So, get on board. Board.
Trust Big Ange. Well, we can talk about where you think we're at in a minute, JP, because coming off a couple of defeats. Jack filling in for John, who might take over at some random point during the show if he gets his laptop sorted out. Jack, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's a beautiful day here in North Carolina on the east coast of the United States, enjoying nice fall weather, and happy to be talking with you guys because I have not had any Spurs conversations for a week, and deliberately I kind of went into my cave after what's happened recently, and I've just emerged and I've picked up some articles for the first time, starting to read again. So I'm out of my depression.
Well, I had dogs abuse from my dad, so I'd like to say that's the reason I've been away, because obviously he's a Wolves fan, so I've had to put up with quite a bit recently. And fresh from an awards ceremony last night, Harry back on the show. Good evening, Harry. How are you?
Yeah, good evening. It's great to be here. So thank you very much for having me on. Looking forward to getting into it. Obviously, I think it's still been a good start to the season, but it's not been the start of the month. We're looking for, like Jack, I pretty much switched off from it this week, so now getting the Spurs head back on, because England are on. Let's be honest, nobody's watching England at the moment against Malta, so it's time to talk Tottenham.
I think they all are, because we've only got 20 people tuning in so far. But welcome to you.
I'm pretty sure caller is too. You just keep looking up there, like
I may have it on the big screen up in the Man Cave, just keeping an eye on things.
Someone's going to ask you a question halfway through this, and you're just going to be like, "Sorry, what?"
That's why I'm the host. I ask the questions, and there you go. Look, we've got a bit to get through. Coming off the back of a couple of defeats, how do you feel the season has gone so far? Let's go to you first, Harry, and let us know what you think in the chat as well. How's the season gone? Rate it out of 10 if you like, or give a percentage. Give us a percentage point if you need 100 points instead of 10, and let us know what you think of Ange Postecoglou so far. Harry, over to you, my friend.
Okay, thank you. I think it's been an excellent start to the season. Make no mistake about it. Inside that top four where we all want to be, ideally at the end of the season. We're playing some amazing football and getting the best out of individuals and as a team, as collective. So I love what I've seen so far. And even like we take out defeats like against Chelsea, where you go, hang on a minute, we lose 4-1. How can you take positives out of that? But it's the performance we showed, the commitment to the end. There's so many positives to take out a loss, which is, we haven't done for a while. And just the way the fans reacted at the end as well, just I think shows that they know we're on the right track. We've got the right manager. It's only a matter of time where we're going to be where we want to be. So for me, it's been really good. Probably 8 or 9 out of 10. It'd be a 10 out of 10. Being honest with you, if it wasn't for the start of the month, but it is what it is. Against Chelsea are unlucky, injuries, suspensions. But at the same time, people moan about Ange's high line. At the end of the day, it could have been 2-2. Guys, goal stands. We could have got potentially, if nuts and babies, yes, but we could have got a point out of that game. Wolves as well. I think it's more the fact we got to 90 minutes, winning the game to come away with nothing. I remember listening to it on TalkSport last weekend, and I came in hearing Wolves had scored, and they were going mad. I was like, we've dropped 2 points. It is what it is. At least we take something out of the game. To find out that I've been out longer than I thought, and it was Wolves winning the game that hurt really because we threw it away more than anything because we knew going into that all the problems we had. So it's really frustrating. But on a positive, really good start to the season, still on the right track. Hard fixtures coming up, but this is a very strong team with hopefully a very strong mentality. The togetherness is clear to see. So a lot to look forward to answering your question. So yeah, 8 or 9 out of 10, probably a 9.
9 out of 10. Jack, I'm coming to you last, JP, deliberately, being Ange's biggest fan. Jack, do you echo that 8 or 9 out of 10? What's your thoughts?
Well, everything is so relative. It's funny because, I think if we had the exact same points and we in our first 2 matches, we had 1 point from our first 2 and then ran the table to 26, everyone would be shouting from the rooftops. But the fact is that we ended on a bad couple games. And of course, the biggest issue is it's not just the number of points. Obviously, the start's fantastic. Anyone who would not be happy with where we are in the table is crazy. It's just now we're looking at, okay, how long are we out key players and how many points are we going to get between now and Christmas? And that's where people start to really be concerned. But as far as a start's concerned, I don't know how you could possibly be disappointed because everyone was resigned to the fact that we would struggle early because that is, historically the pattern when you're trying to institute a whole new system. And most of us didn't think that our players would be able to adapt that quickly. No one had any idea what Van de Ven would be like. Most people thought we bought some cheap knockoff from Italy to stick between the pipes. No one knew what Udogie was going to be. Most people were positive about him. Most people positive about Basuma, but they really didn't have any idea how it was all going to come together and how quickly. And yet, they've clearly shown that they have good footballers in the club and that they adapted to a new system and play with confidence. And so you got to be pleased with where we are. I mean, just no other to not be happy with sitting where you are. We're dealing with unrealistic expectations. It's just now looking forward because that's all in the past. It's just now looking forward, and that's what I guess we'll get into tonight.
So rating it, you're saying a 9?
I'll give it an 8.5 just to hedge a little bit. The last 2, the Chelsea game and the Wolves game have a little bit of a concern for me in some of the things that happened, particularly from a disciplinary standpoint.
JP?
I'm less optimistic, caller. I'm going to give it to you. Yeah, I think we have to go back to the start of the year. What was our expectations? We're all saying, if we could finish 6th or 7th, that would be.
I don't think I said that, actually, but,
What were you, 5th or 6th? Come on.
Fourth or 5th, I think I said.
Let's cut the middle ground. Let's say 6th. So we're above 6th. Right.
All right. We'll
everyone's objective.
We'll play Daveonomics. We can
sure.
narrative.
Don't put me in that category. We're not all Australians. We're not all Dave.
Well, he's not really Aussie.
That's true. That's true.
He's not really English either, but that's okay.
We'll create a. I don't know. What do you call it?
Special category.
Yeah, I don't know what the word is. I think the objective though for us was, can we develop a style of play, right? So you might say, yes, we've, transformed the team, got a new style of play. So we're, if that was the only objective and to finish 5th or 6th, caller, we'll give it that. Then we're doing great, right? So because we're in 4th and we've got a style of play. But the reality is, I don't think we've really hit the style that we're looking for yet. And the drop off from that first team to the rest of them, you can see that second group of players that come in, while the first 11 they've bought in, the second group haven't got it yet. So for me, it's a 7 out of 10 because we're not quite playing the way we need to be playing yet.
Not got it or aren't capable of doing it? Because I assume you're talking about your Højbjergs. Yeah,
I'm talking about the Højbjergs. Yeah, like Højbjerg is capable of playing it. I just don't think he's kind of broken through. Like, not at a high level. You don't want him starting, but he's capable of doing more than he's doing right now. Eric Dyer is not capable of playing as a centre-back in this system, particularly when you don't have a Van de Ven next to him. So there's a mix of that across the squad. But we're not rating, Daniel Levy's transfer window. We're rating, how's the season going? We're in a higher league position than we thought we would be in. We're probably about on track with where I thought we'd be from a playing style perspective. So I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. I think that's a bit miserable, JP.
It's a good score. It's C's get degrees.
I mean, not really, because when we talk about customer metrics at work, 9 or 10 is excellent. Anything sort of up to an 8 is a critic, or is neutral, So and I'm certainly not.
Who am I rating here? Am I rating Ange or am I rating the squad? Because the squad aren't playing the way we need to be playing yet.
Tottenham Hotspur, you're rating the start to the season, not the squad, not Ange.
I'll give it 7.5.
I mean, it's nice to see that my campaigning paid off and you gave an extra 0.5. I would give it a 9. I think we've surpassed all my expectations, is what I would say. I feel that start of the season, I thought we'd be 4th, 5th by the end, and that's based on Chelsea not doing anything, which, surprise, they haven't really. I know they've had a couple of recent good results, and there's signs there they might be improving, but I still don't think they'll do much. United, I didn't think they'd do much. They haven't. I thought it would be Liverpool, Arsenal, City, obviously, us, Newcastle, Villa, all for those sort of 4 or 5 spots. And that's pretty much the way it's panned out. Unless, of course, City get a 99-point deduction and then, see in the Championship, Pep, which is very unlikely to happen. But I think going back to Spurs, look, you couldn't really have... There couldn't be a better start. We drew the first game, but showed promising signs. Played really well in patches. We've not played really well for 90 minutes, is what I'd say. But I think you see the team spirit is there, which it just wasn't under Conte, wasn't under Mourinho in the same way. And I think the fact that we've got that team spirit, the fact that we've added lots of quality in the transfer window. So we had a very good window, which is unlike us. Yes, you could argue there could be more, and I'm sure there will be more coming in. But I think we added 4 first teamers in that window. That's a lot by any stretch of the imagination, right?
Yep.
So good window, good results mainly. The blot on the copybook is that obviously we had players getting sent off left, right, and centre against Chelsea, and then the suspensions and the injuries meant, for me, very limited chances against Wolves. And I think, it wouldn't be fair to say that Wolves thoroughly deserve that victory. It might be that, obviously, we thought we were going to get away with one approaching the 90 minutes, but they played us off the pitch. No one's really played us off the pitch this season because Chelsea certainly didn't do that, even with 11 versus 9. So I think, the injuries and the suspension bit, which brings me to Rowe's point, and I think it's a fair one, stupid sendings off. So my question is to JP, and I've been waiting to ask this for a couple of weeks. Do Ange's teams suffer with a lack of discipline? Now, the reason I say this is not just based off that sending off for Romero, because we know Romero is a ticking time bomb anyway. But we've seen a lot of yellow cards accumulate. Udogie's got a lot of yellow cards. Bissouma's already had a one-match ban. Well, he will have a one-match ban. He's had a sending off as well. So we seem to be getting a lot of yellows, a lot of reds so far. There have been 3 reds in 11 games. That's almost unheard of for Spurs. Is there a lack of discipline at the club? Has Ange got form for this?
No, not really. Like, when Ange teams are flying, it's typically the other way around, that teams can't keep up with them, so they get fouled a lot. I think the accumulation of yellows is really more just a sign of the players have done really well to this point, but they're still learning how to play in the system, and they're getting caught out in a few instances. Like Udogie was just overeager. I think Bissouma's accumulation of yellows is him, being very energetic and doing the things Ange wants, but still learning when to go, when not to go. So I'm putting it down just to players still learning, the side of that line that they need to tug, and where they need to stand on it. I want to come back to your earlier point, because I agree with it. Like, we've played really well in patches. Would you say if you put the season together, accumulation of the season so far, we've probably played well in about 70% of the minutes we've played?
It's less than that, actually. But
less than that.
60%?
60% maybe.
So a
50,
rating
or 50, or even 50, 55.
Yeah, I'd be right. So a rating of 7 out of 10 is a pretty positive result.
But you're not just rating performance, are you? You're rating
that's where the extra 30%'s coming in, mate.
Yeah, well, you're just looking to justify your miserable scoring system, I think. But for me, the most worrying, the most concerning thing is the lack of the lack of discipline. It worries. It does genuinely worry me, because if we carry on the way we have started the season, I mean, what would that put us on by the end of the season? Like 12 red cards, 12 big suspensions, and that's before you look at yellows and things like that. So, I mean, that is a worry, isn't it? He's got to get control of the discipline, Jack. Do you not think?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point, because you have to look at, okay, what are the suspensions for, right? So Basuma's was a double yellow, and just something that you can't ever ascribe to the manager, where he goes looking in for contact in the going through the Luton box and doesn't get it, so he just drops to the floor. And I'll say it. It's not that it was the wrong call; it was the right call. But unfortunately, we're the only club that I'm aware of so far that's actually had someone thrown out for a simulation. I mean, we watched in the Chelsea game alone, and the Sterling simulation. So, and I watched enough football to know that there's been plenty of examples of clear simulation that didn't result in a yellow card. But you can't complain when a referee enforces the rules correctly. You just have to bitch about all the ones who aren't doing it. So that's one thing that I'd kind of take that. If not, you can't stick that on Ange. That's just a player making a dumb decision. Romero getting thrown out is still, I mean, I know we all are arguing about whether it was legitimate red. I'm on the side of it's a legitimate red. And VAR called it correctly. And that is something that coaching has to get involved with, because we cannot afford to have him miss matches due to suspension. We just simply can't. And he needs to own that, and he needs to step up and say, I've made a mistake, I'm vice captain, that won't happen again. Because the tackle wasn't necessary. I mean, winning the ball is what you're supposed to do. The tackle was not necessary, and that's the type of thing he's got to work out of his game. So that is a discipline problem that I put with the coaching staff that has to work out. And Udogie's the same way. I mean, he could have been thrown out for that double-footed tackle that came in early, where he wasn't even,
And this is it. He was lucky.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten away with some. I mean, so I would say yes, the coaching staff, and I would expect, I don't have the history with Ange that JP does, but I would expect that those conversations are going on with those players, and expressing to them that that's unacceptable. You're going to have to play a different style. And I think JP's right. A lot of the cards are because players are finding themselves in situations where they have to take a tactical foul because they've been caught out. I think that's, I haven't looked at every yellow card, but that makes sense. That was my reaction. Is it's going to be part of the learning curve. It's part of the growing pains of the system, until you fully establish 90 minutes of control in and out of possession, knowing where you're supposed to be and where your teammates are going to be. You're probably going to see some more of these cards.
And Harry, do you think this is a consequence of putting a complete psychopath as your vice captain? Cristian Romero. Hi, John. John's also here. Hello, John.
Hello, mate. You right?
Ideal timing for me to go get a beer. Harry, I'm leaving you with that question while I refill.
No worries. Romero, see, he's been given the vice captain's role. I think he's had a good start to the season, but we know he has that side to his game. But as someone who's vice captain, he does need to cut that out of the game. I do believe that comes with coaching and his coaching staff, because Romero has the ability to be one of the best, defenders. I think we can see that. But he just needs to calm and cool his head, because he ultimately, for me, he cost us points against Chelsea. Jack, I think you're absolutely spot on. He has every right to go in for the tackle and to win the ball, but it's the way that he does it, the aggression that he showed. He lost his head. It's as simple as that, and therefore we had to go. I think that's a correct decision by VAR, the consistency we all want. See, some people already suggested we could sell Romero. For me, it's a case of, if you do it again, then we'll have to look at your position as vice captain, because you've got to set that example. I do think it is that serious. Right now, he's fine, because I think he's had a good start to the season, but we cannot keep accepting him doing this, because for me, he done it last season against AC Milan, which I won't forget. So as someone who's a vice captain, he needs to take that responsibility and own it. Own it is a very, very key word. And hopefully he can do that, and hopefully the coaches can work with him on that because he has potential. That's the frustrating thing with Romero.
Yeah, this notion of selling this next
bring that
level
up.
has brought in the sell Romero, and I feel pretty certain. I think that this has been the sentiment from next level before, and I've seen it elsewhere, and I find it hard to get my head around. I understand this. I understand what people are saying is you can find a Romero without the discipline problem, so that's what you need to bring in. But I would say I would absolutely not sell him, certainly not in January, and I would wait to see how the whole season plays out. If this continues to be a problem, then I would expect that Ange will take care of it one way or another. Because I don't think he's going to type of person to put up with, having to play to 10 men on a regular basis because he can't keep control of himself. I think it was just he lost his head for 15 minutes, and I don't know that it will recur. I think that the rest of the season won't see that problem from him. But if it is, then I would definitely be open to moving him on because you just can't afford that. I mean, we are not going to be a club, I'm afraid, that's going to have enough depth to deal with him being gone. Yeah. Now, if we bring in 2 high-quality center backs in the next 2 windows so that when he is out, you just swap someone in who's almost as good, then that's fine. But I just don't see us having that kind of transfer policy.
The amount of shit that is being talked right now. What are we discussing? You don't sell Romero. He went 7 games without committing a foul.
I know.
What are we talking about?
But if he gets thrown out 3 more times this season, then it has to come on the table.
People keep talking about Romero as if he's the red card magnet. I think he's had 2 for Spurs in 3 years. I'll take that for what he gives you.
Both of that red cards, though, the problem we've got here is both those red cards that he lost his head, and for me, cost us 2 points. That's the frustrating thing.
If he costs us 3 points a year, I will take the 12 points that he wins us.
Hang about. I was on a roll. The bookies actually stopped taking bets from me because every week I was putting money on Romero having a yellow card, and every week he got a yellow card.
Was that his first season?
About 7 weeks.
That was his first season.
He has a lack of discipline.
Conte ripped that out of him last year. It's like the one good thing Conte did.
After the World Cup, he got booked in numerous games, consecutive games. He was fine up to the World Cup. After the World Cup, he lost it again.
Yeah,
I think the point is he has been very good this season.
Yeah.
But what frustrated me, and it reminded me of Gazza in the 91 Cup final. So JP and Harry and Jack, before you were supporting Spurs, I know that.
It's before I was born.
Gazza lost his head. And players like Gary Mabber and Gary Lineker said they wished they'd seen it and they would have gone and sort of got in his ear. Everybody could see once Romero had kicked out Colwell after Thiago Silva had gone into his back, that he was obviously trying to wind him up. He'd lost it.
Yeah.
Why did not one Spurs player go over to him and try and calm him down? Now, is that partially because we've got a very young squad? Because it's a very young team, isn't it? Most of our experienced players aren't starting. It would have had to be Madders or Sonny would have needed to probably go over to him and get in his ear. Now, from what I gather, they have these little meetings, Sonny, Madders, and Romero, with the leadership of the club. Apparently, Sonny's everything's brilliant, everything's wonderful, because as you expect Sonny to be. Madders is the sort of the middle. Yeah, there's a few good things, a few bad things, but we'll deal with it. Cutie is just negative about everything. Absolutely everything's rubbish. And that's just the way he is. So we've got the 3 different guys who give a different sort of, you put the 3 of them together, you've got a good team of different skills and understanding. I think the trouble is when Cutie goes, he goes, and someone's got to rein him in. Now, Van der Ven's only 21, but what Cutie probably needs is a 31-year-old Van der Ven, an Alderweireld or a
Sonny to be a captain, maybe.
Yeah, it's difficult when you're up front, though, isn't it, as well? But Sonny does need to. He's quite an emotional guy at times. But yeah, somebody needs to get hold of him, calm him down, because I know a lot of guys on here said it wasn't a red card. He knew what he was doing.
It was a red card. I mean,
yeah.
I am the most rose-tinted person I can possibly be. People are just trying to find an excuse for it. Yeah. And at the time, I thought it was harsh in the stadium, having had the benefit of watching it back several times.
Yeah,
he followed through. And he couldn't. He didn't have to do that. And if he's going to do that, why is he doing it in the penalty area?
Yeah. He knew what he was doing, and he'd lost it. But he's, 23, 24? He's still a young guy, and he has been better this season. We just need to make sure that he's managed. Now, obviously, Ange can only do so much when he's on the sidelines, so it's really up to the other players on the pitch. Obviously, we've lost Hugo, effectively. We've got a new keeper who's, okay, he's 27, so he's, middle ground experience, but he's new to the club. Van der Ven's very young. Udogi's very young, and obviously is having his issues himself. Porro is just a Fruit Loop, but he's brilliant. He's, they love flying in, don't they? And we just need someone, maybe a midfielder, maybe it's Bentancur. I don't know. Somebody can just come and calm things down and get him calm. But the question is who's that going to be?
I think it's Mickey. When Mickey's on there, and obviously Mickey was on the pitch when Romero went and did his thing. And I know he's 22 years old, but I think that there's like a mutual respect between those two. And I think Mickey needs to be the one that comes along and goes, hey, come on, we got this. Come on, stick with me here. Help me out. I truly think that Romero and Mickey van der Ven, if those two can stay healthy and, fingers crossed this hamstring injury is not too serious. And not suspended. Yeah. If Romero and Mickey can kind of work it out, those two will go down as one of our great centre-back partnerships ever. They genuinely have the capability to be one of the greats or two of the greats.
And I agree 100% with that. But I mean, it is. I think it's a legitimate concern. I mean, you can go back to the hair pull on Cucurella that didn't even cause an ejection. I mean, that stuff has got to go. We can't afford that in the age of VAR. We cannot afford where they rolling it back just to see did you come over the ball a little bit and clip the ankle or the shin, and that can get you thrown out. When 10 years ago that wasn't even a foul half the time. So he's just going to have to adjust his game.
By the way, I can't believe we're talking about selling him either, because I think he's a quality player.
Of course he is.
I do think Next Level was the guy that wanted us to sell Lo Celso as well. Maybe
I agree with
that's
though.
A different conversation.
I agree with Lo Celso though. That's me.
Well, we'll get on
JP's
to
going.
I think he's awful.
Go on, no, do it now. Do it now. Go on then, JP. You want to say something?
Okay, I'm closer to saying sell Lo Celso now that Ange is here and Ange hasn't played him. But the narrative around Lo Celso, everyone's like, oh, he's rubbish. He's never been good for Spurs. He hasn't played. And the only time he has played, he was really good that first 6 months under Conte. He was not Conte, Mourinho. He was the best player we had.
He was.
Then Conte came in and decided he didn't fancy him. And that was it. And he was injured to start with. If anything for Lo Celso, he's struggled with injuries, been his biggest problem in getting minutes. And then there was, whether there is any truth in like him and his personality and Conte, I don't know. If there was anything in that, I think Ange would have shipped him out with.
No, it's bollocks, by the way.
Yeah, I don't think there's much in that.
Club, that's bollocks.
He might just be a different personality. He's a little bit more reserved. Fine. I don't know why he's not getting as many minutes at the moment. I think he'll probably start our next match is my bet. But the idea that he's a rubbish player or he can't hack it in the Premier League is total nonsense. He hasn't played. And I think he hasn't played for reasons that are not his fault for the most part.
Who else has an opinion? Do you want to come back, Harry, with anything?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of come back to that because when he did have that good period, good start to his Spurs career, I never really saw what he'd done. I think it was more that the team was really bad at the time, and he kind of stood out as the only one because he was new to the team. He was moving on the ball, etc. But for me, I know you say don't say he hasn't cut it in the Premier League, but when we talk about a player who, whether it's his fault or not, hasn't proved himself in the Premier League, there has to be questions. Is he ready for the Premier League? Is he big enough for the Premier League? Can he do it at Tottenham? Is this the right system for him? So I think they're all reasonable questions. Does he deserve another chance from someone who wants to sell the Sosa myself? Yes, he deserves another chance. Do I think that he will live up to that chance? No, but I'd love to be proven wrong. I think he has the ability. I just haven't seen it enough for me to say that he is good enough to fit into that midfield, which I think when we've got it all fit, that's a very strong midfield. So for me personally, I wouldn't start him against Villa, but I'd love to be proved wrong and I'd love him to do well. But I don't see him a Premier League career working for him.
Messi rates him.
he doesn't start ahead of Maddison, and that's his problem. And Maddison is so critical to what we do, but you're going to struggle to find someone to come in and replace Maddison. And I think Lo Celso is probably about as good a replacement as we're going to realistically be able to find. So I'm happy with him.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to find out because he's going to have to play, soak up some minutes between now and the end of AFCON. If he's not sold in the January window, he's going to get a lot of minutes, and we'll all have a chance to look back and say, is he useless, as some people says, which I think is a little harsh on him. He's not useless. He's just not what maybe a lot of people thought he was. And or is he just, like Harry said, he's just not fit for the system, not fit for the league, just doesn't work. I think we'll find out. I think by February 1st, we'll know.
I think next level point here is Poch. They both, him and Ndombele, were bought for Poch. Yep. You know, when Levy doesn't back any of his managers, he bought these two players that we're now still lumbered with. What, 4 years later? 4.5 years later. Lo Celso had a really good period just before we officially signed him permanently, when he was still on loan under Mourinho. Beginning of Mourinho's tenure, Lo Celso was our best player. I remember we played Southampton in the Cup at St Mary's. We drew 1-1, and he went on a run, about 60-yard run, and beat 3 or 4 players, and the ball ended up with Sonny putting it in the bottom corner. But really, since then, that gone.
No, I was going to say, and he was playing like multiple positions for us as well. Like he was playing as a deep lying playmaker for us at points in time and doing really well there.
Yeah, he just injuries have continuously hampered him, and that's my worry about him. Is he just another one of these players that is never going to really hack it in the Premier League because he just cannot get a run of games because he's not staying fit? And it's difficult because he'll come into the team, and if he can't affect the game as a sub quickly, he's not going to play again. But like we're saying, we're losing so many players now. There's a very good chance he might start next Sunday against Villa, which worries me because I think they'll outmuscle him because he's not It's weird for a guy that is so highly rated in Argentina and he's played 46 times with them, I think. It's really weird that he seems to get brushed off the ball a lot and does struggle with injuries. I know the Premier League is fast and powerful, but South American football isn't, for shy people. They kick the crap out of each other as much as they can. So I don't know. I mean, should we have the debate? Who's gonna be our midfield three then against Villa? Bear in mind, there's no Basuma, no Maddison.
Good shout. Yeah. Against Villa.
Yeah.
Hey, who do we want, or who do we think it's going to be?
Yeah, that's a good question. Which do you want?
Let's do both then.
Okay. Who do I think it's going to be? I'm praying for my boy Ollie Skip to come in and hold the anchor role.
Skip, Sarr, and
it's
Bentancur?
Yeah, but I don't know what Bentancur's fitness level is. That's the problem. So I know he's been taken on international.
Did he play Uruguay?
He did.
Sure.
Let's have a look.
He did. He came in 64 minutes into their first game.
He got what? He played 64 minutes.
No, he came in at the 64th. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's difficult.
He came on the 62nd minute for Uruguay against Argentina yesterday.
I was close.
Yeah, and I think that's about where his fitness level is at. He's building into match fitness, isn't it? So I don't think he's going to start. So I think on that basis, it's going to be Højbjerg, Sarr, and maybe Skip. I mean, your alternative.
That's grim. That is grim.
It is grim. No. But your alternative. I mean, what I would want to see is Giovanni Lo Celso given the Maddison role, Højbjerg as the DM, and then Sarr as the other midfielder. But does anyone think you'll actually see that?
I think we've got a decent chance of seeing that. I think that Ange last game thought, I'm going to give these players who've been playing more minutes a go, and saw that it didn't really work. I think we'll probably see that Højbjerg at the 6, Sarr going back to his normal position on the right, and Lo Celso come in the Maddison role. But
what about Hill?
Well, Hill's not a bad shout, but I think Lo Celso's ahead of him. I'd like to see Sarr at the 6, Lo Celso in the Maddison role, Bentancur at the 8, but appreciate he's probably not going to be fit enough for that. So maybe Ollie Skip at the 8.
Well, I would would, again, it's going to fitness. I would, if Bentancur starts the next match, and let's say he comes out at 60, you could see that being our strategies. Like, we know he's not going 90, but he could at least start. And let's see if we can get a lead, and then you can bring in Skip at the 8 to replace him. I'd like to see Bentancur, if he could start. If they think he can go 50, 60, I'd like to see him start. If
Bentancur's fit, I still think you play Lo Celso, and it's Lo Celso, Bentancur, and Sarr.
Yeah, yes, I'm 100%, and I agree with you. I think Sarr's. I mean, I don't know how much time he's gotten at the 6 in training, but he seems to be without Bissouma, the player that I'm most confident in receiving the ball in traffic, keeping his head and keeping possession and finding the outlet, because you're asking a lot of Pierre to be receiving the ball in the half turn. It's just not his skill set.
We've the last probably 4 or 5 games we haven't played as well, and that's been when Pierre's had to come into the team and start doing a lot of that, and I think it's broken down. But
also because Bissouma's gone into a shell. I mean, you just look at his positive carries and dribbles in the last 3-4 games, and they've fallen off a map.
Don't ruin my narrative. Højbjerg's the problem.
I think Bissouma's been worried about that 5th yellow. He's got it now, so I think he'll be back when he comes back. He'll have that kind of lifted off of him. But the other one who could play the 6, and it's the same lineup, but you put Bentancur at the 6 because he can kind of stand on the ball and play that pivot and receive and kind of distribute and carry.
Bentancur's not going to start. He's not.
We're playing in a world here where Bentancur is going to play 60 minutes.
Well,
I'm on the 60-minute train.
Yeah. I think we have to be. We're all holding out that Bentancur can play 60 minutes because we need him to.
You say this, but he was terrible away at Wolves. And he wasn't much use when he came on against, was it Chelsea?
But he's got to get minutes for us to get better. So
yeah, he has, but I just don't. Yeah, so a lot of his foots and babies, isn't it?
I don't think it will happen, but this is what I want. I think we have to look at the next 6 games, 7 games. Like, it's a tough run. I don't think many Spurs fans expect to pick up many points with the injuries we've got. So I think this run of games really needs to be about how do we blood the team we want, not the team we have. And I think that's the way Ange will look at it.
Interesting. Okay. All right, then. What do we need in January? This should be a good debate. Harry, do you want to boot us off, kick us off? What do you think we need in January?
Good questions.
Not what you think we'll get, what you think we need.
What do you think we need? Obviously, I think it's important to be realistic, because people talk about squad depth and it's important, but I don't think it can be done in 1 or 2 windows. I think that's the thing that comes over time. So for now, I think we definitely need a third strong centre-back. You've got to prepare for the worst situations. So for me, that's really, really important. Ideally, a left-back to come in for Udogie when he's unavailable will be great. But what people got to remember is January, some people say, it's an excuse, but it is tough to get business done. And often, it is players that aren't wanted or their contracts running down. So it will be difficult. But for me, that third strong centre-back has got to be the priority. And maybe a left-back as well. But I'm not going to be crying if we just get a third strong centre-back, but make sure we get really strong third option through the door and also get players out the door. So not a lot, really.
You're on mute, caller.
It's like when someone comes on Teams for the first time.
Jack, why didn't you
Amateur. John, what do you think? Who do we need?
I was going to say Jack, because he says Jack's going to jump off.
So I'm going to jump
back. Jack, tell us what we need before you go.
So for me, it's priority number 1, obviously, is absolutely center back. And if all we got was a center back that we are comfortable with starting any match against any opponent, then that's a win. Then I'm looking for a left-sided forward, because I'd rather not Johnson have to be the starting left side. I don't have a problem starting there, but we need another left-sided forward. And then if there's still room and you can find someone, to Harry's point, if we can pick up a fullback somewhere along the lines, I think that one that would obviously play on the left side. I think Emerson is fine there as a pinch, but clearly we should have a better option beyond Udogie when he's not available. So that would be, but I think we can survive plenty without getting one in January. I wouldn't stretch. I wouldn't push, really hard. It's just if one of those players just fell in your lap, a situation develops towards the end of the window where someone needs to move or wants to move, then you go and get that left fullback. But otherwise, if you just came out with a center back and left-sided forward in the January window, then I think I would be very pleased.
Yeah.
JP.
Are we operating in a world where Richie's going to Saudi Arabia?
He's not going to Saudi.
Like, could he go to Saudi? Could he?
No.
Fulham, isn't he? Called to HP.
Could he?
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere. He's not going to go anywhere this season. End of season, different
he's
story.
Not. Look, we all know like the areas in the squad where we need to improve. I agree. Like, I'm not so big on the fullback. I think Davies and Royale, for players that you want to play 10 games a season, are fine. Definitely need a centre back. Then after that, I would go and get another centre back. And then maybe look at either a left-sided forward or a striker. I don't think it's critical right now, but if there is an opportunity to beat the rest of the market to Nico Williams, you go and do that in January. He becomes a free agent in the summer. I think he'll more likely end up at like a Barcelona if that happens. But if you can go get him that done in January, you go get that done in January.
JP, do you think there's a chance that we will sign some obscure player from Japan?
Yeah, massive
chance.
Like that. The Japanese season ends works on like a calendar year cycle, so they're out of season in January. So it's much easier to sign players from that market in January. So there is a chance, but I don't think it'll be a player who'll come in and like be a first 11 player for us. It'll be like some crazy attacking midfielder that Ange just thinks is wild, and it's going to come and play the pinch minutes for Lo Celso.
Okay, John.
Okay. So we'll go like
Benjamin Button, John. You look young. You look younger every time I see you, Benjamin Button.
Mate, I'm bloody tired. I tell you,
you're aging in reverse.
I've got a 10K on Sunday on Brighton Seafront. It's gonna be 40-mile-an-hour winds. I won't look young. My face will be like this. Be like plastic surgery,
No Botox required.
Yeah. If I was to go dream window, which we know isn't going to happen in January, at least one centre back. Probably back up to Udogie, back up to Madders, back up to Bissouma, and a left-sided forward. If you're going to go dream,
John, you're Welsh. You can't be You can't be digging out Davies. You're Welsh.
Mate,
what's
wrong with him play? That's what
he's had a good
innings.
He's seen him
play.
He's had one bad game. He's had one bad game.
JP, right?
When was his bad game, JP?
Palace, yeah, he was pretty poor against Palace.
Yeah, it was.
Right. He does this, right? Every 10, 11 games, he has a bad game. Højbjerg, every 10, 11 games, has a bad game. Otherwise, there are 6 or 7 out of 10. They're both very similar.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 games.
Right. Both similar. Højbjerg, time to move on. Davis, time to move on. We probably won't move him on. He'll probably stay in the club.
The difference between Davies and Højbjerg is that Højbjerg can't play this system. Davies can play the system. Every club, James Milner's made a career of it. Every club needs someone who's going to come in and play 10 games a season at 7 out of 10.
I don't think he can play the system, JP. He's not fast enough as a centre back, is he?
Well, he was probably our best player against Wolves.
That's a low bar.
Levels, mate.
No, he was good, to be fair. Yeah, he was good, but in a different position. I don't think he can play that inverted fullback role. I think he's better as that centre back stepping in when necessary. So,
trouble is with Davis, you look at the Brentford game last season, and he got absolutely destroyed because they kept running in behind him, where we were playing a high line. He just isn't quick enough, and he does have his tendency to get caught on the inside sometimes. And I think his best games were under Conte, playing a low block, because that's what he's good at.
The Daddy Davis era, yeah.
The Daddy Davis era, indeed, yeah.
I thought his best games under Conte were when he was playing as a marauding fullback.
I thought his best games under Conte were when he wasn't in the squad. But there we go.
I'm sort of saying, his best games for Tottenham, full stop, were under Conte. And that's because we were playing a low block.
I just think that if you're going out to sign a backup left back and I keep throwing this kind of 10 games a season thing out there, you're going to get someone at Davies' level. So I don't see it as a massive priority to go and
it's
get
not a massive
another
priority.
player.
We've got
No, it's a big
Region on loan who can do a job.
Yeah, like
You know,
and people that's really the thing I get when because the
my
a
point
backup
more
for
is-
Udogie keeps being the thing that gets thrown out. I'm like, well, we've got that. You're not going to get much better than what we've got and keep them.
Would it not be good though for a doggy to only have to play 25 league games a season or 10, 20 league games a season, so that because it's that position there's a lot of athleticism required, and
Yeah.
you're more likely to get injuries. He's already shown this season. I mean, he's only young, but he's had some injuries already. He's pulled out the Italy squad. Hopefully, that's an old Sir Alex Ferguson trick of he'll be fresh for Sunday because we're struggling. I mean, if he's fit, could he play centre back
Udogie.
against Villa?
He's done it before.
Yeah.
Because it was muted, wasn't it, a few weeks ago when Van der Ven was possibly out? Which game was that? We were told, Steve told us
Yeah, I think so.
that they were considering playing him at centre back.
Yeah, but he can play there. I think he has played there.
He played left centre back of a 3 for Udinese last season, one game.
Yeah.
I know Paul watched that. So midfield wise, obviously, we've got 8 games before the transfer window opens, which is quite a long time. So Lo Celso could come in and cement a place and cause a problem. He could have some good games. But if he does, he's got enough time. If he doesn't do anything, then it probably is time to move on. And then
I think that's the
we
point.
Need to bring someone else in.
Yeah, I think that's the point. Is like we're gonna know in the next 8 games what we need to do in January and what we probably should do in the summer. We know already another centre back it was criminal that we didn't get one in and we let Sanchez go at the end of last window.
I think that's the kicker because actually, if Sanchez is in, Sanchez's one attribute was his pace.
Yep.
So in Ange's system, he probably wouldn't look half as bad. I mean, so it was a surprise to me they let him go without a good understudy.
He's terrible at passing. He's terrible on the ball. And Ange's centre backs need to play.
Yeah, but they need to be quick. All right, you got Dyer, he can't do either.
Oh, I know.
Would you prefer? Would you prefer Eric Dyer and Ben Davies starting against Wolves, or Davison Sanchez and Ben Davies?
Yeah. But the point is, they couldn't get rid of Dyer. He wasn't going to go anywhere. We got offered money for Sanchez, and they spent quite a lot of money this summer.
I get why we did it. It's just not bringing in another centre back. We were really relying on one.
I understand, John. I understand the mathematics of it, but
I do get the point. And Tanganga, who again JP loves, and I've never really been a massive fan of. Terrible player, pacey but liability. Just want to big up Sean for subscribing, and he's mentioned Donnelly, Dorrington, Santiago, and Phillips. I've been banging the Jamie Donnelly drum for a little while, almost as long as JP has the Ange drum.
Shout out, Sean.
Santiago looks a hell of a player as well. From what I gather, he's up on that level. The centre backs I'm not sure about yet, but we will see.
Well, if I'm going to say what we need in the window is a centre back, and if we get one centre back and a forward in, I'll be happy. And when I saw forward, I can see us signing a winger. I would imagine, because I think Ange has a little bit of an aversion to signing an out-and-out centre forward. He likes players that can play across the front line. And when you look at it, what we're missing. I mean, we've been so unlucky with it. Does anyone know when Solomon's due back? He can't be that far. Time. Is he a long time?
Yeah, he's a long time.
Just a thought: if we do sign a winger and Johnson can play on the right, could Kulu then cover Madders in the middle?
Yeah, absolutely. I see with Kulu, I really like the idea of having him in the middle, especially as all he wants to do is move into the middle every time he's on the right wing anyway. So you may as well play him in the bloody middle because he tries to cut in every single time he gets the ball. So I think having him in the centre would be a good option for us. But
I don't think that replaces the need for us to sign a backup to Maddison, though.
No. But where do you get a backup to Maddison? Maddison is a unique player. There's not many of them about. And I think your point was spot on. I don't think there's many backups to Maddison that will be better than GLC.
No, there's not. The question is really, does GLC want to stick around and play the minutes that he's going to get?
No, he won't.
If it's not, I think the answer is in our academy. I think it's Jamie. Is it Donnelly? Was he
Jamie
the centre back?
Yeah,
I get
Jamie
Donnelly and Dorrington confused all the time. I think it's
Dorrington's the
either
centre back. Donnelly's a forward.
yeah. I think it's Donnelly or Alfie Devine.
We shall see.
So Santiago is a left wing. He's a right-footed left winger. Donnelly is a left-footed foot. He plays anywhere along the forward line. But what he can do, if you watch him, he can ping a ball like Harry Kane. Some of his crosses and passes to Lancashire and Suntuk Bell, who the guy we got from Chelsea, are scoring so many goals made by Donnelly. But Donnelly scored twice for the England under-19s last night as well. He's a real talented player, and if we can keep him on the even keel, he could be a real player for us. Although, obviously, Mikey Moore? Max Moore?
Mikey Moore.
Mikey Moore, yeah.
Mikey Moore, yeah. He's
Mikey-
16, isn't he? And he's supposed to be brilliant.
Yeah, and he's done brilliant so far this season so far.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing we need to think about as well is like we've got all these really promising players, but if we don't create a visible pathway into the first team for them, they're not going to stick around, and we're going to end up kind of repeatedly buying these players who we can say never worked out for us because we didn't buy them to be starters. We bought them to play behind someone. They didn't get the minutes. They weren't happy. I think that those like where we're saying the positions where we've got, Madison's our clear starter. You've got Decky who can play that role. It makes sense for you to then go to the academy and go, all right, there's a spot for you to come in and play in 5 or 6 games this year. Next year, we want you to start making more meaningful minutes, 10, 15 games, and you're going to be the backup to Madison with the long-term view of taking a spot in this team. And I think that keeps academy players motivated. But if we go and sign someone, then they're looking at it. Sign a 22-year-old out of Spain, they're going to look at it and go, well, I'm not really going to get a chance for another 6 years. I'm going to be 24.
I could be the next Brian Hill.
Yeah, exactly.
He needs a chance, Hill.
Yeah.
He does, yeah. I genuinely think he could be good in this system as well.
Yeah.
He'd be really good.
He looks good.
He could be good in the Madison role. We don't have many players who can play the kind of short, intricate passing when we get on the end of the box. I think Brian Hill's one of those players who can do it.
You look at creativity, for me, although we talk about a Madison understudy, you've got GLC, you've got Hill, you've got Kulusevski, who could all step into that creative role. It's just a shame we've had, if you look at the quality within our squad, Perisic injured, Solomon injured, it just seems like everything's been snatched away from us. It's difficult.
Yeah. The opportunity for Decky or, I'm going blank on his name, Hill, to play in that kind of 10 role is taken because we don't have enough depth on the wings, and so their minutes are going to come on the wings. So, yeah.
Exactly.
I just want to bring this up. I don't think Hill has had his chance, really.
No, he hasn't.
Conte played him on the right.
No,
He's hardly played any of the games on the left.
He hasn't had his chance at all. And when he came on in the Champions League, he absolutely bossed the game for half an hour, didn't he? I can't remember who it was against. I was there.
Oh, he came off the bench, didn't he?
Yeah, he was quality.
Was that the Frankfurt game?
Absolute quality. Yeah, he was getting.
Amazing, yeah. Did he win a penalty?
That was the most frustrating thing.
Not sure.
That for me was the most frustrating thing about the Conte era is because he had these, and I'm going to throw Jed Spence in this picture as well. You had these, we couldn't work things out on the wings. We were so ineffective. And then he gives Brian Hill like 5-10 minutes. And
no, it was about 25 minutes. And he was awesome.
Gives him 25 minutes and he was awesome. And then we never see him again. Jed Spence had about like 2 minutes in a game and did more than any of our wing backs had done all season. Never see him again. Not saying that Jed Spence was the answer, but like these players came on and did stuff and he's like, oh shit. Oh, they looked good.
It is interesting though that Ange, it's interesting that Ange got rid of Spence as well, though.
Yeah,
is that because we had two right backs more senior?
Possibly.
I think the reality is that Spence is very, very young, and very raw, and you've got Porro, who is proving now he's mustard. I love the guy. I think both in terms of his positive vibes, because he's a very happy guy, isn't he? Good for the squad. And I think the way he strikes a ball, the way he crosses a ball, it's just been quality so far.
Next level, I'm not saying I rated Spence. I'm saying he had 2 good minutes and he never got another chance.
Again, he came off the bench, didn't he? And he looked okay. And I remember he did like a 60-yard dribble and he took on a few players and actually done all right. So
almost scored in a game. All I was saying was that like our wing backs were shocking last year.
They were.
And he did okay in the minutes he got.
Hill. Anyone who doesn't rate Hill, you're an idiot and you don't know football. There you go.
I think he has potential, big potential.
He's a fucking brilliant player. He wouldn't be one of the youngest players to play for Spain. Look how many teams in Spain want him. He's a very technically gifted player.
He's skillful.
He's fast. He's skillful. He's
Dynamic.
got that low centre of gravity. He can twist and turn really easily. He just needs a chance. That's the thing. He just needs a chance. And when I say a chance, that doesn't mean coming off the bench for 25 minutes either. It means three games back to back.
Yeah.
3 games.
Why don't we start it against Aston Villa? We got an injury. People call it an injury crisis. It's time to see these players in action. I don't think Kulusevski's perfectly great. I think if we're going to get Kulusevski into this team, I think we need to change the position because for me, he slows down counter-attacks and that could, cause problems against bigger teams. Let's say with Manchester City coming up, we're not going to get that many chances and Kulusevski's going to take that long on the ball and break down for me anyway, slow down the counter-attack. That's a problem. So I think it's the opportunity to start trialing these things. Aston Villa, go for it.
There is a case that against Villa, we're going to end up a bit like Chelsea with 2 really high lines because we saw at Villa Park last year how we managed to cock up the offside trap so many times where Sonny and Richarlison kept getting caught offside. So I can see both teams be really close to the halfway line. So having Johnson on one side and Hill on the other has got some merit. However, the problem could be then set pieces because we'll have quite a small team potentially. So it's finding the balance of who plays where. But yeah, there is some merit in that. If we can get someone, so probably Bentancur it's going to have to be, or maybe Lo Celso to thread those through balls.
I don't think Richarlison's out for that long, is he?
A month, I think.
It was a month originally, wasn't it?
So he won't be far off when we come back from the international break, will he? 2 weeks?
Probably 3, but yeah, not long.
Did you just say Richarlison's the answer?
No, he just popped into my head. I thought,
I think he's as bad as some people make out, though.
On the left wing. He's not, Harry. You're absolutely spot on.
Yeah, I think he's still.
There's a lot of stupid people out there who
he's deluded and he's used as a scapegoat. And I think fans have to sit here and go, look, we're not top of the league right now. Who are we going to pick up? Who are we going to blame? Why aren't we perfect? Why don't we have a 100% record? I think Richarlison's got that blame because of the he hasn't scored that many goals. But Sheffield United comes off the bench, gets a goal and assist. Liverpool gets an assist. Looks really good in that left wing position. For me, looked good, but then got that unfortunate injury. So I still think he has a place in this team.
He's been playing with that injury, Harry. He's been playing with it.
He's been playing with that injury and he's been contributing. So I'd love to see a Richarlison injury-free in this system. I think he has a spot in this team. We've talked about a lot of players that perhaps we get rid of, perhaps not good enough to start. But if we talk about this squad depth and the likes of Davies, the likes of Højbjerg, the likes of Richarlison, for me anyway, are very, very important to keep around in terms of when we're going to be in Europe next season. And one of our players needs a rest, for example. We need competition for places. So I'd be very careful if I was Tottenham Hotspur in the upcoming windows about getting rid of players like Højbjerg and not replacing them.
No one's saying we don't need to replace them. I mean, I think if you're probably right, Harry. Like if Richarlison was...
I don't care.
I don't like Højbjerg. I personally do. I think he's been excellent since he stepped in. Personally.
Who? I think Højbjerg?
Yeah, Højbjerg. Yeah,
I think he's been absolutely terrible.
He had an okay game. That first game, he had to step in for Basuma.
See, I thought he was really good.
He was not good against Wolves.
This is where we it's interesting because we look at it from a different perspective. I don't know why, but for me, Lo Celso, even though he did have I can admit an okay for me period. I can't remember who it was under, but I was at, for example, the Norwich game. We won 2-1 in the cup, and he got man of the match, for example. Some people thought he'd done well. For me, I've never seen it with Lo Celso, but at the same time, I really like Højbjerg. So I think it depends on how you interpret it. So
I think coming back to Richie as well, like if Richie had cost 6 million from Port Vale, we'd be going like, yeah. Cool. Like every team needs a player like Richie. He's turned out to be a great signing. It's the expectations you have of the player coming in and the role they end up playing that means you say they're rubbish or they're not. He is what he is. He's not a rubbish footballer. Yeah. But did we overpay for him? Probably. Is he what we want as a starting striker? Probably not. But he's going to do a job for us and we need players who can do that job. Same as a number of players that we've talked about. This team like Lo Celso, he's not a bad player. He's a good player to do a job for us. Does he
Hang
want
on.
to do that job? Do we want him to do that
It's an
job?
Argentinian international who Messi once labelled as one
He's
of the best
not a bad
midfielders in the
player.
world.
He's
That's
not a
all.
bad
I mean,
player.
Messi knows a little bit more than, old Sean down the pub, doesn't he? But there you go. What do I know?
Although Messi could take some tips from Next Level.
Look, Lee's telling me Richarlison is crap. You need to get over it.
This is what annoys me, right? Because this will be the same person. We'll have Lee come back, right? Next season when we're in Europe and sold Richarlison, where is this squad depth? Where is this backup for Son in case he gets injured? Where's this player that can play multiple positions? For me, you've got that. So I think fans have got to be very, very careful when they're like Davis, right? I thought he was bad against Palace, right? He's bad against Jordan Ayew. He wasn't playing against Elise. He wasn't playing against Eze, Zaha last season. So that did worry me. But because of one game, I'm not going to go get out and you can't play in this system.
Go my club.
Rubbish. Because he came off the bench against Man United, second game, first home game of the season. And I think he got his deflected goal, so pretty much an assist or a goal, if you like. It changed the game off the bench and pretty much won us the game. So, some of the instant, boom, boom on the likes of Richarlison is very harsh. I think he's been okay. I think any club in the Premier League would probably take him. Did we overpay? Yes, probably. That's not my concern.
No, it's not.
I do wonder. He reminds me a bit of Darren Bent in that he doesn't necessarily suit playing for us, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe he's just the wrong player,
maybe
at the wrong time.
Maybe.
Ben was a goal scorer, but it didn't. His style of play didn't really suit the Spurs way.
He's a gooner as well, isn't he? He's very
gooner.
unlikable, Darren Bent. I've got to be honest.
When we were linked with Richie, no one really wanted him, did we? We're like, that was kind of the reaction from the whole Spurs base. Like,
It was Jesus versus Richie, wasn't it? That was the whole thing. Who's going to go where? And we were a bit torn.
Well, I think they're both pretty
signed him. We all just jumped
average,
on
to be honest.
Yeah.
They're not crap. They're good players. They're Brazilian internationals. That's slightly better than the level I play at on a Tuesday night. So who am I to say anyone's crap?
Like a half step?
Yeah, a little half step. But what I would say is that they're not world-class strikers.
No.
Richarlison's not a world-class striker, nor is Jesus. But they're commanding a 50, 60 million pound transfer fee, which is pretty bonkers if you ask me. But that's the market.
Scored a pretty world-class goal in a World Cup.
Who, Richarlison?
Yeah, it was a good goal.
And not be funny, but Brazil's number 9 for a reason. Jesus can't get into Brazil's starting 11 for a reason.
I think we have to accept that Brazil don't have a lot of strikers at the moment if Richarlison's their number
9. Very true. Depends how you look at it. But no, he needs to start scoring Richarlison, but it looks like another player's been carrying an injury. I just think give him till the end of the season, and judge him there. If we're in this position now, then of course we probably sell him, especially get good money from Saudi Arabia. But I don't think we're going to get, much back. Saudi Arabia is your only hope if you want to sell Richarlison of getting near what you paid for him back. But apart from that, I just think you're going to get it. But Brazil are really struggling at the moment, generally, I think, anyway.
And he won't want to go to Saudi because I think he'll struggle to be picked for Brazil, to be honest. But there we go. Look, we've spent an hour talking Spurs. We could spend all night, but we are back on Monday. We are back on Wednesday. We are back on Friday next week where we'll have a match preview for the big Villa game. John, you're going to be there. Are you excited about seeing me again?
Desperately. I'm more excited about seeing Mr. Diver maybe in the Tunnel Club, potentially, possibly.
Well, it depends. If he gets a better offer, if Sandro...
To be fair, Franco messaged and said we can meet for a beer, so it could be quite exciting if I can get there on time.
There you go. Get there on time, John. Get there on time. JP, thanks for joining the... You've been challenging lots of people in the chat today, so that's good.
I've enjoyed it. Thanks for all your comments in the chat to people. It's been a good battle this evening. So thanks everyone, and thanks to you for the chat. It's been good to see you. Good to be on with you, Harry. John, it's nice to join us.
Harry, thanks as ever for coming on the show. We appreciate it, and I hope you've got over the hangover of the awards ceremony you were at last night.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to come on. Great to be on a show for the first time, JP, with you as well. It's been great. So I think maybe you as well, John. So it's been great. Big up, like you say, everyone in the chat. Last night was really, really good. An honour at just 14 to be a finalist, but I want to go further than that next year. I'm going to bring something home and do everything I can to make that happen. So watch this space. I'll be back. Thank you very much for having me on at the Spurs.
Yeah, good time. And remember, whatever your opinion, no matter how crap your opinion is or how great you think your opinion is, we're all Spurs fans. So get together, get behind the team, and come on, you Spurs.
Like the Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.